Hey, I know. I just sent my slides to your email.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that Nepiu?
Yes.
Good. Good. I will send to Tatya who is sharing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Leonard is here, so just Claudio, and then we'll be good to go.
Yes, maybe we can wait 1 more minute. And for Nepiu, please, if you can send it once more. I didn't yet see in my email your presentation.
Okay, I think we can start now. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today the for the webinar. And today we are having geothermal webinar on geothermal, and the topic of the webinar is the role of geothermal technology in Africa's just energy transition. We have been doing a series
Doreen, it looks that we can hear you right now. Can you check your audio? Doreen, it seems that you're muted. Can you maybe go back a few sentences and unmute yourself? Yeah, it looks like you're muted. If you can unmute yourself. Or perhaps you can leave the meeting and then join. I think that may help.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Maybe
perfect.
we can
So,
start over. Good.
where did you leave me off? I can start over again.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today for the webinar. We'll be having the webinar on the role of geothermal technology in Africa's just energy transition. We have been having a series of webinars highlighting some of the LIPRI projects. And so we have several webinars on the LIPRI YouTube channel. So in case you want to see what we've done before, then you can be able to access the past webinars there. And next slide, please. So my name is Doreen Mwangi. I'm a lawyer and an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. And I have a strong passion for law, sustainability, and energy. I have trained in litigation, research, and also conveyancing, and I'm now involved in LIPRI through Africa Energy Services Group.
Seems like we have lost you, Doreen, again. The voice is not quite, we cannot hear you. I'm not sure about the others.
So perhaps in the meanwhile, let's see if Doreen can fix the technical problems. But I think we can move on to the next slide, which is basically the introduction. And just to continue where Doreen left off, I could say that today we will focus on 3 geothermal projects in LIPRI, namely Energy Village, Geothermal Village, and Geothermal Atlas for Africa. As speakers, we will have 4 geothermal experts. We have Nepio Kirkibo, who comes from the Energy Village and is working at the University of Vaasa. Then we have Dr. Claudio Ciuffi, who has been involved in Geothermal Atlas for Africa and is also affiliated with the University of Florence. Then thirdly, we have Susan Oniango, who has been both in Geothermal Atlas for Africa and Geothermal Village. And then lastly, we have Dr. Isabella Nardini, who is Manager of International Affairs at Fraunhofer IEG. And then we can take a look at the agenda. So today we have some changes. So as a moderator, we don't have Dr. Anna Mwangi, but we have Doreen Mwangi from Africa Energy Services Group and myself, Aino Kinyo from UNIPID and University of Helsinki. And we will start with a short introduction of the LIPRI project for those who are not yet familiar, and it will be given by Leonard Levesque, who is the main coordinator of the LIPRI project at LGI. Then instead of the overview of the topic, we will move on to the presentations. So we will hear project-focused presentations by our speakers, Claudia Ciuffi and Nepio Kirkibo. And after that, we will have a short break of 10 minutes before moving on to the second part, which is panel discussion with all of our speakers. And I could remind you that at any point of the webinar, you are free to write some messages to the chat, or you can even raise your hand and ask questions, and we will address your questions. So we can try to keep it interactive and learn from each other. Yes, but perhaps we can move on to the first item of the agenda, which is the short introduction of the LIBRI project by Leonard. So please, Leonard, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I know. Good morning, colleagues. Happy to see some familiar faces. So I guess the majority of the audience today is already familiar with what LIBRI is. So in a nutshell, it's the long-term partnership on renewable energy between Europe and Africa when it comes to research and innovation on sustainable energy. So basically, we created an African funding mechanism to fund research and innovation in the field of sustainable energy. That includes 7 thematic priorities. One of them is the evaluation of joint research and innovation actions, and this is priority led to the funding of some projects related to geothermal in our portfolio, so namely Energy Village, Geothermal Atlas for Africa, and Geothermal Village within our portfolio. So I will not extend on the presentation of LIBRI, as I guess everyone is aware, simply to raise the awareness on the last joint call that we've been organizing earlier this year that closed 2 weeks ago. We received 172 proposals. Among these figures, it's quite impressive to notice that the applications were submitted in 40 countries, including 28 from Africa. So I'm happy to see that the program is very attractive, but also on the African continent, in particular in countries that actually did not participate in previous call, in countries that have a geothermal potential. So we received applications from Ethiopia a lot, Djibouti, Kenya. Well, in general, we have quite a great interest from the Eastern African countries, mainly acting in the program as beneficiaries. So our most important challenge for the next steps is also to engage with those countries, with Kenya, with Ethiopia, with Djibouti and others, on engaging with the appropriate ministerial level that could act as a funder in the AU co-funding mechanism that we manage. So I guess in terms of strategic priority, this is what we would like to perform in the next month, especially in the view of the next call that would be launched by the end of this year, 2025, maybe next year, 2026. This will be confirmed soon. But well, in total, we also received more than 1,000 applications from individual partners. So I think the overall LIBRI is now getting to a critical mass. So I think it's more important than ever to organize these clustering activities, these peer-to-peer opportunities to create and animate networks, especially in the field of geothermal and other topics. So, well, I wish you good discussions and available to intervene if needed. Over to you, Aino and Doreen.
Thank you so much, Leonard, and great to hear about the progress of the project and the partnership building. Now, for anyone who has not yet connected with us, there is a link in the chat to the LIBRI website. And in the website, you can, for example, subscribe for the LIBRI newsletter, or you can also connect to the LIBRI app for more opportunities, events, funding, and beyond. But perhaps then we can move on with the agenda to the presentations. We will start with Dr. Claudio Ciuffi, and he will present about development of a decision-making tool for the sustainable exploitation of geothermal resources in Africa. But first, I could shortly introduce our first speaker. So Dr. Claudia Ciuffi has a bachelor's and master degree in environmental engineering from the University of Florence in Italy. And between 2020 and 2021, he began a research path at the same university, contributing to geothermal energy and sustainability projects such as GECO and GeoEnvy. After that, he pursued a PhD in industrial engineering with the specialization in energy and innovative industrial and environmental technologies, which he also completed in November 2024 and defended in just February 2025. Congratulations for that. And his doctoral research was based on work developed within LIBRI project. And since November 2024, he's been working as a research fellow on the HOCLOOP project, focusing on closed-loop geothermal systems using water or CO2. So very interesting to hear more about the project and also about the research. So without further ado, the floor is yours, Claudia.
If Claudio could start sharing his screen now, I will stop sharing mine.
Okay. Thank you very much for your introduction. I try to share. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So I think now you can see the presentation better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I start. So thank you again for the introduction. I'm Khalil Zuffi. I'm postdoctoral research and I'm working in University of Florence. The work that I will show you. I'm sorry, I have some noise outside my office. I hope doesn't interrupt me. Anyway, today I will show you the work that I have performed during my PhD that is related to the LIBRI project, and it is the development of a decision-making tool for sustainable exploitation of geothermal resources. This is the outline that I will follow in this presentation with a brief introduction, the methodology. I will not focus so much on the methodologies because it's probably too technical aspect, but in case we can also talk later. And I will show you briefly some of our results that we have obtained and then the conclusion. So, the African continent is an emerging economy with a strong growth, both in terms of the infrastructure and population. And in fact, many studies report that in 2050, the African population will be 4 times the ones of Europe. And at the same time, also the prediction of the electricity demand and energy demand will grow a lot in the next few years. So, as the European Commission predicts, in 2030, the electricity demand will be 3 times of the ones of today, for example. In this context, you understand the importance that has renewable energy. In particular, in Africa, there is a huge potential of many renewable energy, but also in this case, we're going to talk about the geothermal potential. So, as many studies report, the huge potential of geothermal energy in Africa is not so much exploited. So we are talking about 1 or 5% is exploited. particularly in Ethiopia and in Kenya, are the two countries that develop. Sorry, one moment. Ragazzi, sono con gocce. Sorry, I start. So in the last two countries, that the unique country that exploit the geothermal resource for power production are Ethiopia with some installation, and there are many projects in the next future, and Kenya that has 972 megawatt installed at the moment. And other country use the geothermal resource as direct use for thermal application. In this context, we saw in the teacher and some by our study in teacher review that the main key barriers in the continent are probably the lack of workforce and infrastructure, the lack of government support, and also the long-term regulatory and policy. And also we find out probably there is a lack of data, so data scarcity. And from an academic point of view, we saw that we find out that there is a lack of in-depth analysis in the African continent. There are not so many published papers related to geothermal energy in Africa. The main focus is usually in the East African and in particular in the Rift Valley, and there is a discrepancy in geothermal potential evaluation, and there is a lack of qualitative analysis. So in this context, the LEAP-RE that, as Leonard already presented, is a huge project with several topics. We work in the Geothermal Atlas for Africa, and our aim is the development of decision-making tool to define which is the best solution for the exploitation of geothermal resource in terms of thermodynamic performance, economic cost, but also environmental impact. So our aim was to take information related to the geothermal resource and see what we can do with this resource and what are the performance of this possible application. So the methodology, do you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, because I hear strange noise. Anyway, the methodology that we applied, the geothermal tool is composed of thermodynamic block, which represent simplified model of energy system. And the tool is based on the temperature classification of Lindahl diagram. Assign different thermodynamic blocks based on the enthalpy of the geothermal resource. So we have the high enthalpy resource with flash power plant, binary power plant, or dry steam power plant. For the medium enthalpy, we have a high temperature heat pump for the heat production or absorption and refrigeration cycle for cooling application, or for low enthalpy, we have direct use with a simple heat exchanger. In our case, we have modeled with a surface exploitation or a deep exploitation. In fact, we have generated also a production section that represent a geothermal well, and our tool can work in a single block evaluation or in cascading exploitation evaluation. And today I will show you mainly the results of single block evaluation, but probably the next hour I will show you also some results that we have obtained during our collaboration for the cascading exploitation. Anyway, we have modeled also the economic parameter. In this case, we have used as main parameter the levelized cost of energy, that is represent the average cost of the unit of energy produced over the system's life. So we use several correlations find out in the teacher for the total cost investment, but also the operational and maintenance cost. From environmental point of view, we use the life cycle assessment approach, and we modeled each system that I show you briefly in the previous slide, in order to obtain the environmental impact in terms of kilograms of CO2 equivalent per each kilowatt hour of energy that we have produced. In this case, we follow the structure of the LCA, and we use this kind of a boundary system that you can see here on the right in the presentation, modeling only the geothermal wells, the system, and avoiding the evaluation of the user production. Anyway, the work that we have performed is mainly just to understand to you. I will show you the example of geothermal well. Evaluate which kind of material are involved in the production of some system, in this case the production well. So in this case cement, steel and diesel consumption, and we find out a correlation between the consumption of this material and the direct environmental impact. So obtaining all this model and using for all the system, I show you briefly the general results that we can obtain from this model. And in this case, these are the results, for example, for the power plant. So you can see, so you can see here the results for the single flash, for the double flash, and the binary power plant. This is just for an example. These are the surface that we obtain from the meta model, the optimized meta model, and you can see in the x-axis there is the variation of geothermal temperature, and in the y-axis we find out the mass flow rate that we can exploit from our geothermal resource. So easily you can see that if you know some specific parameter of the geothermal resource, you can evaluate instantaneously the size of the system that you want to evaluate. So in this case, if you set, for example, the temperature and the mass flow rate, you can see that you can obtain a specific power plant with a specific size. And this you can see also for the other application like double flash and ORC binary, but also for the other one that I show you in the first slide. We have obtained the same results also for the levelized cost of electricity, and here is the example. So you can see in this slide, for example, you can see the size of the power plant. In this slide, you can see the levelized cost of electricity. So you understand that knowing the condition of your geothermal resource, you can see the cost of the electricity that you will produce, how much is it. Same, you can obtain the results for the environmental impact. So in this case, we can see setting the condition of geothermal resource, you can evaluate the environmental impact in terms of grams of CO2 per kilowatt hour. So briefly to show you the last results that we have obtained, that is the main results of the project. And this is, as I said, the single block evaluation of our tool for the application of Geothermal Atlas for Africa. And I want to thank the Utrecht University and TNO, because we strongly collaborate with them, that pass to us all the input that we evaluate. And here I don't want to comment each maps, but just to understand to you, we have obtained evaluation of the potential of the whole Africa for each possible application, and all the maps that you can see here are related to a single specific evaluation. So in this case, power plant, flash and RC, the high temperature heat pump, the direct use, and the cooling application. And also it's important to see that the maps that we provide are three mainly, because they represent the three main parameters. The E map, A map are the capacity of the system, the B map, the cost of the system, and the C map, the environmental impact of the system. And you can see we have several information, and the approach that we use to merge all this information is we have proposed three different approaches. So the energy-based approach, giving priority to electricity production system and the ones with the highest capacity. The economic approach with a lowest normalized levelized cost of energy, or the environmental approach with the lowest normalized climate change. And with these three decision-making approach, we evaluate the world potential of Africa for each kind of application. And just to comment the first, for example, with an energy approach, we saw an energy preference. We saw that in the whole Africa, we have about the 12.2 gigawatt of possible installation of flash power plant, 3.7 of binary power plant, 34 of high temperature heat pump, and 247 gigawatt of direct use. And you can see the distribution in all the country. So just to finish, we have developed a comprehensive tool for the prediction of energy, economic, and environmental performance of the geothermal system. And we have characterized the whole potential of the African continent. We have used the tool for single analysis, but also in a national and continental scale. And also, this is mainly related to environmental stuff, but we have developed a parametric life cycle inventory for the analysis of ex ante life cycle assessment. And just to let you know, all these results are available online on this website that is the one of LIPARI. And in the next future, I hope in a few months, all these results that we have obtained with our collaborator and all our team will be shared with the African Knowledge Platform, that is the GRC platform related to African data and African information. So I'm sorry I go too long, but anyway, thanks for your attention. And of course, if you have some question, I'm really happy to answer to you.
Thank you so much, Claudia, for sharing your research findings and also sharing about the importance of decision-making tools in unpacking the potential of geothermal energy. I would like to ask for immediate reactions, and I can see that there is already one reaction. Did I see that someone had a hand raised?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation, Claudio. I've got a question about the data sets. So is it available open source, the geodata sets behind the potentials, I would say?
Yep. For now, I think in the on this website, I don't know if you can see my screen. I hope so.
Yes, I can see it.
In this, I think are available, so you can download each maps. But in the next future, when we will share with the JRC, we will share also the geothermal tools, so this kind of application, and also there will be the tools that TNO has developed, and also I hope in the next month we will also we are working to submitting a paper, and then all the model and everything will be shared with the scientific community. So of course, I think for now you can find out only the geothermal maps in this website. And but in the next future also all the model are available.
Okay, all right. And is it possible to sort of compute with the model like the geothermal potentials from like on a global scale, or just on like the African continent?
For now it's only at an African scale, because we have our partner collect a huge amount of data regarding specifically the African continent. But of course, this methodology we can apply also to other country, also if you want, you can go deeper, probably in specific area. But first of all, you have to collect the data regarding to geological stuff, geophysical stuff, and so on. So for now, this work only for Africa. But of course, for example, the geothermal tool, the ones that I have developed, if you have the data already available of temperature and mass flow rate, you can use it and perform the analysis of other area.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question.
Good. Thank you once more, Claudio. I think perhaps we can continue the discussion at the Q&A session and at the panel discussion also. And then we can.
My screen.
It's okay. We are already sharing the general presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Yes. So then we can move on to the second presentation of the day, which is about Energy Village. And the title is Advancing Langanot Geothermal Potential Site by using a combination of solar and geothermal technologies. And as a speaker, we have Nephew Kirkibo. He comes from the Energy Village project. Yes, thank you. And he is a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Vaasa. He worked as a postdoctoral researcher on the LIBRI project, which stands for Long-Term Joint European Union, African Union Research and Innovation Partnership on Renewable Energy. And the mission is to promote the Energy Village concept in Africa. And he says that the concept, which has been developed at the University of Vaasa for over 2 decades, aims to empower local communities by helping them understand and estimate their renewable energy potential and transition away from fossil fuel consumption. The aim is to totally replace fossil fuels by renewable energy. And his work tasks include writing articles, collaborating with the partners across Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and Botswana, also contributing to project deliverables by identifying future initiatives and organizing monthly meetings. And he also has had the privilege of attending LIBRI stakeholder forums in Kigali, Rwanda. Yes, so perhaps without further ado, I will give floor to Nephew.
Hello. Hey. Let me share.
Good.
Can you see it? This.
Yes, we can see.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. What about when it is in a screen?
I think this is okay. You can share as it is.
Okay.
Yes.
If I put it like this, which side do you see?
We can now see your presentation. I think we can see it well.
Or what about like this? Now it's better, or?
I can also share it for you on the screen if.
Yeah, I mean, which side do you see?
Energy Village advancing.
Okay.
It's
Do
saying
you see what is this presentation mode? Not really. Yes. Okay.
If you want to have the presentation mode, I can share. I have shared it in the presentation mode. You can also
Okay.
click on mine. Yeah, and I can just switch between the slides.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Nabi Girgibo, and I have a privilege to work on LIBRI project for the past 4 years. I am a postdoctoral researcher currently in University of Vasa, living permanently here in University of Vasa, no, in Vasa, city of Vasa. I don't live in the university, but I live in city of Vasa. Well, my title of presentation is Energy Village. We have one site called Langano. I want just to show what can be possible to use in Energy Village sites for future projects. Next slide, please. Shortly, LIPRI work package 40 is called Energy Village concept in Africa. It was ended last month, March 2025, and it was about 4 years. University of Vasa was the lead partner, Addis Ababa Science Technology University, Botswana International University, Science and Technology, Makerere University, and Moi University from Ethiopia, Botswana, Uganda, and Kenya was our partners. So the goal of the project is to develop, promote sustainable energy use in the village, and to create energy village, sufficient villages to further develop energy village concept together with our partners and to create African-wide network energy village experts who can utilize the methods in their countries. So this is the main concept or the main aims, but the whole project idea circulates with presenting different, identifying different energy villages or village which can use 100% renewable energy resources. That can really help us quite useful for local energy security. Next slide, please. We have identified about 60 energy villages. Among those, about 80 energy villages for at least for in each country. And during this period, it was quite nice time and somehow intensive, but it was quite interesting period. So all in all, what can be said that Africa has quite a huge potential for using renewable energy resources as a resource. For today, I am going to present here in Ethiopia. You can see here Langano's way, the third one. That site has a huge potential of geothermal resources. Among those is from the geothermal resource, direct use geothermal resources quite possible for for this site. So can you go to the next slide, please? So Langano site is located near to the south of Ethiopia, which is it is called it is between the city of Awasa and the city of Nazareth. I mean, found in the road of city of Awasa next to the city of Nazareth, and the water temperature at different depths is about 30 to 70 degrees centigrade. So this is quite possible to use for direct use of heating. Now, more, maybe not cooling because in Ethiopia the weather is quite high, but it is possible to use water heat exchanger that can be used as if you combine water heat exchanger with heat pump, it is possible to use it for direct heating or cooling, for example, in Europe. So solar intensity is maximum. So if you combine this kind of water heat systems that can use water exchangers, that really can help to get both geothermal potential or geothermal heat resource combining with solars that can cover some of or about 70 or 30, 70 up to 50% of the total energy used in local cities. In Langano site, in Wangano site, one of the huge potential is the water temperature is quite high. Even people can't cook a food on the water that much. There are locations which is quite high temperature, about 100 degrees centigrade. So it can be used directly. Even it can be used probably to produce electricity with combination of other geothermal technologies. Next slide, please. This is water heat exchanger, which is found mainly in Finland only. This is the first one which is produced by Finnish companies, which can use if you put it directly to the water, and if you circulate water inside it, you can get water heat exchanger. So this is solenoid style of water heat exchanger, and it has the maximum surface area as well as the plastic which is made is environmental friendly. It can even extract heat even in uh, in cold weathers, not in cold weathers. I mean, in summertime in Finland, which is not quite high temperature. In Africa, it is quite possible. The other point that it can be connected to the houses, especially in African context, maybe for cooling, if there is some cooling needed. But if you use it as if like the Y site is quite high temperature, that can be used as for for uh, shower purpose or other cooking purposes. Hot temperature can be used. Even if you combine it with heat pump, you can get maximum amount of water that can be quite hot. And with other combination systems, it can be really used for other purposes. One of the drawbacks, wait a moment, please. One of the drawbacks is that the system which can be connected to this water exchanger is expensive. And in Africa context, it might be difficult to find expertise to install it and help locals to use it. So teaching locals how to use, operate it, and other renewable energy teachings or capacity building is required. But the other drawback is it is expensive. But this is a new technology. I'm just to show you what is possible in future. Such technologies can be directly used in geothermal context. And if you combine it with solar systems, that can cover the electricity, and the household cooking can be adjusted with both renewable energy resources, and that can help locals which are nearby ZY Langano, ZY site. Okay. Next slide, please. The other inspiring cases, which are not geothermal, but these are one of sites in Addis Ababa University of Addis Ababa University Technology, which is like combine different biomass technologies for biogas and solar, wind, and other solutions. You can see the energy potential is above the consumption. This was one of our inspiring cases, and such cases really can be visible, and the side can be such kind if really analyzed carefully, and everything can be installed. So future projects can be possible in ZY. We have been in contact with Claudio before, so such projects might appear in future. Let's see. Next slide, please. This is other inspiring case in Uganda. which can have less amount of potential than the consumption. But if you increase the solar panel, the wind or biogas, it's possible to cover the total cost. This is in one of BDBD refugee centers. It has a really huge potential of helping over 100,000 people. But in these sites, in both inspiring cases, there is no any geothermal potential. But the previous Y case is the one which I want to focus today. Next slide, please. So geothermal technologies such as water heat exchanger shall be combined with solar system in future, and that helps benefit locals to maximum level. All in all, these cases represent different situations and can be in village, and not all of them can be present in village, but all village cannot be act as energy village, but they should be analyzed before the consumption and the potential. The project all in all LIPRI has helped us how much we can apply and expect while implementing energy village concept in Africa. I mean, how much help us to learn much about how to apply and what to expect while implementing energy village concept in Africa. There is promising lead in Langano, which can be future project site as energy village or as a project by itself, which is our next step, and that can really self-sufficient sites with replica for others to learn from it. The case of energy village are ready for full implementation, and there is a conducive environment to investment. And we have learned that in Africa, really there is thousands of similar cases of energy village, and along Africa or Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti, geothermal potential can be really a huge resource for locals because they are present locally and the locals are living nearby, so they can really benefit from it. Langano Energy Site is a huge potential site for new projects, and this all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nephew, for sharing about the importance and impact of your project Energy Village. There is someone already asking if you can share the presentation slides. I think we can do that with everyone even. Next, I would like to ask if we have any reactions, comments.
Sorry to interrupt. If Nebu could kindly stop sharing the slides so that we can share other slides. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes. Nephew, it seems that you're actually now sharing your screen. If you can stop sharing at this point. Yes, but any questions, comments, reactions before we go to the break? If not, there will be more time at the end of the panel discussion for a Q&A where you can ask questions from Nephew. But so it seems that we are exactly on time because at 10:55 we have a short break of 10 minutes. So now you can grab a coffee, tea, take a little walk, and we will be back in 10 minutes. So 11:05. I will put that in the chat as well. But thank you so much for the speakers so far, and we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to the second part of our webinar, which is the panel discussion. And we now turn to our attention to a key theme in the LIPRI program, which is collaboration and synergies between geothermal projects. In this session, we will hear insights from the Geothermal Village, Energy Village, and Geothermal Atlas for Africa initiatives. So to begin, we will have Susan Onyango, who will give us her perspective on this topic. And just to give a brief introduction of Susan Onyango is that she's a social scientist with more than 10 years research experience along Africa's Rift Valley. She's currently undertaking doctoral studies at LAP at EHESS Paris in the LIPRI project, where she has been part of the Geothermal Village 1 and Geothermal Atlas for Africa projects. She has been affiliated to Geo2D, a French consultancy firm whose mission is to promote and work towards sustainable development of geological resources. Her interests include local community issues, community capacity building, agency, and gender perspectives in geothermal development along Africa's Rift Valley. So now, without further ado, we now invite Susan Onyango to go ahead and give her presentation.
I will start sharing Susan's presentation in a second.
Thank you, Katia.
Yes, you should be able to see it in the second. Yes?
Yes,
Yep.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. As you've been told, my name is Susan Onyango. I'm going to make a brief presentation on the Geothermal Village, Geothermal Village 1 project that has just ended. So basically, the Geothermal Village 1 project was a project that, Tatia, could you kindly give me the next screen? Yeah, it was a project that was mainly focused on collecting data for standalone geothermal systems. It's a project, of course, that was under the LIPRI. It took place during the period of 2020 to 2024. So it just ended towards the end of last year. And in terms of geographical scope, it covered Rwanda, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Kenya. So 4 Eastern African countries. It had, in terms of the exact kind of data that we collected, it was data related to social, geoscientific, and some engineering related data. So we had a situation whereby we had synergy between these 3 broad domains of study. Kindly give me the next screen. In terms of impact, we had interdisciplinary collaboration, and this was, in fact, it was both interdisciplinary and intradisciplinary, because even within, for example, the geoscience, we had several domains. We had the geologists, we had the geophysicists, we had geochemists, and yeah, that kind of stuff. And in terms of the social science, also we had a variety of social science domains. So it was both interdisciplinary and intradisciplinary. In terms of impact, again, one of the things that happened, in fact, the main thing was that we synthesized the data that was collected from these different disciplines and analyzed it to end up with to generally give us a global picture of what possible projects could be implemented on each site, because we worked on 4 sites, as I mentioned. We worked in Kenya, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Rwanda. We also, in terms of impact, we also had capacity building, and this, one of the things that we did here was actually local community capacity building of some of the sites. We didn't manage to do it in all the communities, but we did in some of them. So basically just bringing the community to a point whereby they had more understanding of the geothermal resources on the ground, on the land they inhabit. More to do also with working with them to analyze things a bit more in terms of if there was ever to be a project on the ground, already bringing them to a point of starting to think around some of the issues related to that. The next slide, please. Yeah, then based on this, we have our next steps. One of the main next step is that we are hoping that in terms of the data that has already been collected and synthesized, the idea is to move to a point whereby we translate this data into a project on the ground. It should be a project that responds to given socioeconomic needs of the local population on site, because the data that we collected, actually we analyzed it in such a way that we also took into account the socioeconomic needs, taking into account the socioeconomic context of each of the local populations. So there's needs which we came up with, especially in the context of climate change effects. So we are hoping that the next step would be to have a project that responds to these kinds of needs. And just to conclude, go back kindly. Just to conclude, I would like to say that the common good of the local populations should not be lost as a central focus of both the Geothermal Village, but also the Geothermal Atlas, because I think both these projects were centered on the issues of looking at how small-scale community-based projects can respond to socioeconomic needs of the project, of the local communities. Yeah, so in a project, in the kinds of projects that we do that are academic-based, at times it can be easy to lose sight of this central focus, but the idea should be that this common good of the local populations should really be the central focus of these projects. And I guess having listened to Nebiu, I think that's also the objective with the geothermal energy project. So that's it from my end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Susan, for your presentation. At this point, do you have any questions or comments regarding the presentation? Okay. If you don't have any comments, then I'd like to give the floor to Claudio Zufi and Nebiu Gibo to share about their experience while collaborating between Energy Village and Geothermal Atlas for Africa.
Okay. I don't know if maybe you want to start to say something, or I can start to ask the same.
Yes, the collaboration was initiated by Addis Ababa Science Technology and Claudio's Professor Daniele. Their work package was work package 9, our is work package 40. So in our Energy Village Langano side has been really the only geothermal potential site. So we ask them to make us some analysis for Langano site, and our partners in Ethiopia, they have gone and collected data to some level. And Claudio and Professor Daniele has planned to make analysis. Unfortunately, there hasn't been enough data, isn't it, Claudio?
Yeah, we started the collaboration. Unfortunately, as I said, maybe we didn't finalize, but we have the opportunity to talk. They share with us some data regarding Langano, and we have developed. We have made an analysis mainly to related to Malawi and some hot springs in Malawi, but after some month we have used the data that Nebu share with us, and we have done more or less the same analysis just to understand to the application of high temperature heat pump. If you want, I also can share my screen.
Yes.
Just to show you briefly the approach. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so more or less, this is the case of Malawi. I don't have prepared slides for Langano case, but just to understand, we hypothesize some scenario of possible application of high temperature heat pump, and mainly was related to two possible application for a cooking station using the geothermal resource and requalify the heat at high temperature with a high temperature heat pump in order to use the heat for the cooking, and also another application of drying the vegetables. In this case was like cassava, but in order to just to understand. And we set some scenario regarding how many people we can satisfy in the case of cooking station, or how the amount of the vegetables that we can drying using this application. And as I said, we have done this analysis for Malawi case studies, and is this one more or less, but we have done also for the Langano area. So in this case, as you can see, we have the geo reference of the geothermal well that Nebu provide to us. We know more or less the temperature and the possible mass flow rate. We have done some scenario of how the amount of the mass flow rate that we can exploit from that resource. And we have so evaluated the size of the possible cooking station application, and we have evaluated so how many people we can satisfy and how many people can use this kind of application in that area. And as you can see here, of course, the greener, this is the maps of Ethiopia, and the red color more is red, and meaning that the density of people is higher. So in this area where it's really red, as you can see, for each pixel of the images represent a high density of population. And in our evaluation, we have evaluated, as I said, the size of the high temperature heat pump, the possible energy that we can produce from the geothermal wells, and also how many people we can satisfy, and so the area that we can cover, like in village, or people that can use this kind of application. And as you can see in the Langano area, more or less, we evaluate like a square of 43 kilometers per 47 kilometers. So it's an area where many people can use this kind of energy and this kind of application. Of course, it's only an energy analysis, so it's not representative of the reality. It's only to show to possible stakeholder or policymaker that in this area probably we can satisfy the demand of these people, and probably these people can use this kind of resource for this resource for the cooking application, or possible to also to industrial application. But in this case, we thought about cooking application, and of course it's a green cooking, so it has a good appealing to I hope to possible stakeholder, and we have done this kind of work, and I hope probably in the next future it will open probably to some other project, some specific application, direct application that we can continue to work in this area, and so. I don't know if someone has question. Of course, all these analysis we have performed with the tool that I showed in the brief presentation, and this is come from our collaboration with the NEBU and the I don't remember the name of the Ethiopian professor.
Professor Getachew Adam.
Exactly. So with him, so thanks to this data sharing, we have performed this kind of evaluation. But also, if I'm allowed to continue to talk, I also show you probably another kind of collaboration that we have done at the University of Florence with the Strathmore University and some other and some other guys coming from KenGen. I don't know if I can continue to talk or.
Yes, you can.
Okay. And for example, we have used the tool that I show you in the first presentation. As I said, we can use it for a single block evaluation, so evaluating the wall potential, like for example the national scale, as I show you in the maps, but also with a cascading application. And in fact, we validate our model, and we use this model with some specific data of Olkaria 4, thanks to the collaboration with KenGen and Strathmore University. We had close collaboration that it was like for 6 or 7 months, with meeting each week and so on. They share the data related to Olkaria power plant, and so we hypothesize some scenario to use the resource in Olkaria, adding some specific block in order to increase the energy performance of the system, evaluating, comparing also the economic costs that coming from our analysis, and also the environmental impact. In fact, thanks to this collaboration, we have made the first life cycle assessment of a geothermal power plant in Africa, because we find out in literature that anyone perform an environmental analysis to the geothermal power plant in Africa. So thanks to this collaboration, we have done also this. And briefly, we use the tool so to define some scenario, like for the single flash is the case of Olkaria 4, the real case, and we add with the tool with the simulation a double flash scenario, a triple flash scenario, or a single flash with a binary power plant, and also the double flash with a binary power plant. And not to talk so much about the results, but just to know, to understand the take-home message. We have performed a sustainable analysis, defining several multi-criteria sustainability evaluation, and we define that the best solution probably to improve the economic the environmental and the energy performance of Olkaria 4 is to add a binary power plant to the adding the binary power plant to the single flash, so the scenario for the ones that I show you. And thanks to this collaboration, we perform this kind of analysis that I hope probably in the next future other studies, stakeholders, someone that is interested to our analysis, probably we can apply directly and go deeply in these kind of aspects to improve the Olkaria system, Olkaria 4 power plant.
Okay. Thank you so much, Claudio and Nabil. I don't know whether there's anyone with a question on the collaboration between Energy Village, Geothermal Atlas, and also with Kengen and Strathmore. Feel free to ask or comment. Okay. If you don't have any comment, then we also have Isabella Nadini with us today to share about collaboration opportunities between geothermal projects. Isabella Nadini is the manager of international affairs at Transfer and Strategy Development. She's also a board member of the European Geothermal Energy Council and has served as vice chair of LIPRI till March 2024. She's also involved in LIPRI capacity building and geothermal cluster leads, and she's also a lecturer at Bochum University of Applied Sciences, where she lectures in hydrogeochemistry and geothermal systems. Now, without further ado, let's have Isabella Nadini give us her contribution.
Thank you very much, Doreen. Good morning, everyone. Thank you also to Aina and to the speakers for these interesting presentations. Yes, you know that I'm pretty much involved within the LIPRI program. By focusing on geothermal, we have two geothermal projects as we have seen in the LIPRI. One is Geothermal Village and one is Geothermal Atlas for Africa. Both of them comes out from a strong cooperation among partners already since the beginning. So what we can for sure aiming at for the future is to first of all to cooperate in not only on the energy production, but especially on the direct uses and industrial uses. So we need some demos. If we talk about research innovation action project, what we need is really to go for demos, because we have done a massive work with the Geothermal Atlas for Africa that we can also implement, of course, in the future. But talking about geothermal energy, you know the potential that we have in Africa, both not both. There is a strong potential for high temperature, medium temperature, and low temperature resources for geothermal. So this will allow, as I was saying, not only to go for energy production, but also for direct uses, which is very important for the energy access concept that we have now. So this for the community development, for the local resources usage. And what is also very important is the combination and the integration of different renewables. So when we talk about geothermal, we talk about energy production and direct uses. That means agriculture, food, water, and other industrial purposes. When we talk about geothermal, we can also talk about heat storage, which is another important topic, because the heat can be stored, cooling can be produced, which is another important topic, not only everywhere globally, but also in Africa, of course. And integration system are also very important. So as our colleague from the Energy Village was mentioning, also a combination between solar and geothermal and others also, not only for energy production, but also for storage. This is my comment. It's just a hint for conversation, of course.
Thank you so much, Isabella. Do we have any comments, questions? If not, then we go to the second part of the panel discussion, which is, next slide, please, which is scaling impact and the next steps for geothermal projects. And now to explore this, I'd like to invite each of the speakers to briefly share their current developments or future plans related to their individual projects. In particular, feel free to also highlight any new or key partnerships you're building, as well as what kind of support, whether from communities, policy frameworks, or funding, would help take your work further. We're interested in hearing both the concrete next steps and your reflections on how to increase long-term impact. So back to you, our speakers. I don't know who's willing to start. Maybe Claudio can.
Claudio.
Yep. Do you want to start? No.
I can say some orders. Well, according to LIPRI, Finland is not really eligible anymore for applying for LIP sustainability, but future projects are possible in geothermal energy in Langano Energy Village site, where our partners from Addis Ababa Science Technology has several contacts, and there has been several projects which has been long term, about 5 to 10 years, which has been going on, as far as, if I am correct. But on that side, there is a potential to start a new project that can help locals to really get or get benefit from the geothermal resource which is present in Langano site. Where there is no really started point yet, but still we would, as University of Fasa, we would like to collaborate with Addis Ababa Science Technology as well as Claudio's University for future projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Nebu. Claudio, you can go next.
What I see is probably that next steps, for sure, as the University of Flores, but also with Fraunhofer, with Isabella, and other partners that I don't think are today here. We try to join to the second step, LIPC, and we have submit a project. So we hope to work again with geothermal energy and renewable energy in the African continent. Also, I hope that during these years where I work in Lipari, I had the opportunity to collaborate with many people, many partners, European, but mainly with African partner, and I enjoy a lot all this this project, the topic, the people, and so I also think we have obtained good results, and that of course we not solve all the problem of geothermal energy in Africa, but it's a good point to start, I think. I think also, for example, for Geothermal Atlas is a good point to start for a policymaker or possible stakeholder that can see also if you don't know so much about geothermal energy, but we have worked a lot on this, and so probably you can understand that in some area this kind of energy needs investment and to put their money to improve the situation, because could provide renewable energy to people, and people can use it and improve the lifestyle, and also with a low environmental impact. So I really hope that our work has continuity in the next future, and with new collaboration and new project, and I hope also that our work provide to stakeholder a good point to start to trying to think about also policy and something like that.
Okay, thank you, Claudio. Do you have any comments from Isabella or Susan?
Sorry, the initial question on debates? How to
Sorry?
scale up geothermal? What was the question? How to scale up the geothermal?
Yes, the scaling impact. Yes.
Yes, I have a comment, a general comment, just to, of course, I do fully agree with Claudio and on the point that he just mentioned. A few other strategic steps that can be taken, just to recap, are, in my opinion, technical innovation. So as I was saying, we need some demo and pilots. For sure, the policy alignment, so a legal framework that supports all these actions. Skills, we need skills, so, and capacity building actions. So we need training and to enhance training, and also market integrations. So these, I think, are the main point that can favor a scaling up of geothermal and other renewables in Africa. And honestly speaking, these are the same topics that we discussed in Europe. It doesn't really change too much. Of course, geothermal especially is really site dependent. So of course, some of the aspect, not only from the technological point of view, but also from the local community point of view, policy point of view, are different, and this needs to be taken into account. But these are the main points that should be addressed and further investigated and supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. Susan had mentioned her next steps in the Geothermal Village presentation. I don't know whether she has. Susan, do you have anything to add on this point?
Not really. I had already mentioned and more or less I exhausted what I wanted to say in that regard.
Okay, thank you so much.
Including impact.
Okay. Thank you. Now we come to the end of our panel discussion, and we'd like to now open the floor to you, our audience. In case you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to put it in the chat or just raise your hand and ask the question directly to our speakers. The floor is yours. Yes, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I am Mohamed Akram Sousou from Tunisia. I have a question for Claudio Zuffi about the data collected in the frame of the Geothermal Atlas of Africa. I saw some data coming from North Africa region, and I am wondering if these data are in-field measurements or simply data based in bibliographical, maybe not very recent results.
Yeah, this is a good question, and unfortunately, I'm not the person that directly collect the data, so I answer to you just to the things that I know and that I remember, and probably the data related to the North Africa coming from database or available data in literature, and mainly the Geothermal Atlas for Africa, the work that the geological partner and geophysical partner, the data that they collect were mainly in report from the government or report from industry company and so on. There were also I think some field data collection, but I don't remember the specific area. I remember some of our partner went, for example, probably in the north of Rwanda or Ethiopia. I don't remember, sorry. But for sure, because we used this kind of data of the North Africa also a few weeks ago, and if I remember well, they coming from report from the government or from company. So some of that data are not the newest and not direct measurement, but we work with a huge amount of data, and we try to characterize the whole continent with which we have found and what is available. Also, I think Isabella probably want to talk and probably can also answer to you, because also she works in Geothermal Atlas for Africa. So
thank you, Claudio. No, I want to comment on this. You know that I was since the pre-leading the geothermal initiative. So I would like to underline that this data that we get, I mean, we made a really massive work within the Geothermal Atlas for Africa, and it's the first Geothermal Atlas that is collecting not only data for the new data on the potential, but also a complementary part of the application of these resources in each site. So this is, we made a huge work, and this can be implemented. So our goal was to implement this. So if we can get more data, and of course the best would be also to have more financial support to expand this. This Geothermal Atlas for Africa, this new approach, which is an open access, is really a tool that should be used not only by researchers, but also especially from policymakers, investors. So this is a great tool that we started, and it's already online. And all the other data that are available and that can be implemented are very welcome. Yeah. Of course, we need also some financial support, but it's not something that is done. It's something ongoing. We made a lot. Claudio was one of the major research scientists involved, but so if you have, if your question comes because you saw some missing data, you're very welcome to share with us.
Okay.
More than welcome, because this was the other goal. The more data we gather, and the better it is. Of course, if we can build an infrastructure to implement this atlas and to have some financial support, of course, because we come from non-profit public institution, that is the best. So let's find a way to go on with this atlas, to implement it, because this is really a valuable tool This is my comment, because sometimes we do not really get the importance of this result of the LIPRI project. It's really something that was not, is really new from different point of view, not only, as I was saying, because we have new data of the potential of the resource, but it's the approach, because we already addressed the application in different regions. Thanks. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Thank you, Claudio, for sharing again the link.
Thank you, Claudio and Isabella, for your contribution. Do you have?
Sorry,
Okay.
I shared the link, and you have already seen. I'm sharing also the link of the African Knowledge Platform. That for now there is no the results of Geothermal Atlas for Africa, but as I said, you can find many information related everything, so energy, industry, and other stuff, agriculture, and so on. And in the next future, you will find also the data of Geothermal Atlas for Africa. So in case I'm sharing also this link.
Yes, we will also be able to share the presentations and all the resources gathered from this webinar during our, we'll share through via email. So do we have any other questions? It seems we do not have any other questions. So with that, we've come to the end of our discussion today. I would like to thank our panelists and our speakers and every one of you participants for joining us today for this insightful discussion. And you can continue engaging with us on the LIPRI website, where you can be able to connect and interact with the speakers and the panelists, and also continue forming more connections. I'd like to thank you for staying with us and joining us. Thank you, and have a lovely day ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Okay.
Have a nice day.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.